Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today, we've got some crucial news you don't want to miss. Let's dive right into the top financial headlines and break down what's happening. We're sharing a Bloomberg report today titled, Fed History Shows That Expected Trump Policies Shifted Its View. This report has sparked quite a bit of discussion. Essentially, it aims to explain how the Federal Reserve's long-standing goal of controlling inflation might be subject to change. There's been a lot of chatter on Wall Street about the Fed's independence and how Trump's policies might influence its approach, but Bloomberg takes a more objective stance. It moves away from the political hype and market gossip, focusing on how the Fed might work with, or adapt to, Trump's economic agenda. The key point here is that while we can talk about ideals, as market investors, we also need to face reality. So, what does this reality look like? Bloomberg explains that Trump's election win and the Republican control of both houses of Congress creates an objective reality the Fed can't ignore. It may have to revise its forecast for future interest rates. For the past few years, the Fed's primary goal has been to keep inflation at 2%. No more, no less. To achieve this, it has raised interest rates, slowed down cuts, and at times even increased rates to control inflation. But with Trump in office and the GOP in control, there's less political resistance to his economic policies. As Trump pushes forward with his economic agenda, the US economy will shift. The Fed, if it sticks too rigidly to its 2% inflation target, might not only waste ammunition but could also undermine Trump's efforts to reshape the economy. So this isn't just a question of the Fed maintaining its independence or Trump interfering with its policies. The reality is that the Fed will have to adapt. Bloomberg suggests that the Fed should revise its inflation target from 2% to 2.5% to reflect the potential impact of Trump's economic measures. These include tariffs, tax cuts, and other policies that are likely to stoke inflation. If Trump's policies generate moderate inflation, the Fed may no longer be able to stick to its 2% goal without derailing the economy. So, according to Bloomberg, it's time to raise the target to 2.5%. This is a compromise, one that takes into account the realities of the current economic and political environment. This recommendation is crucial because, before Bloomberg's piece, no major media outlet had seriously floated the idea of raising the target to 2.5%. Until now, most discussions focused on how Trump's policies might fuel inflation and how the Fed would react. But with Bloomberg's article, we're seeing a more concrete suggestion, a middle ground that acknowledges both the political pressures and the economic realities. This is especially important as we look ahead at the direction of interest rates and Federal Reserve policy. Bloomberg's analysis could influence how Wall Street and other financial institutions view the Fed's next moves. Expect more discussion around the 2.5% target in the coming days as other major firms weigh in. Now, I'd like to share a personal investment thought that ties into this broader economic and political discussion. Lately, I've been analyzing whether to invest in Israeli government bonds, specifically the 20- and 30-year bonds. The prices are attractive right now, as Israel's credit rating was downgraded by major global banks before the recent military action against Hezbollah. The bonds prices have stayed low since that downgrade in August. However, Israel's military actions against both Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza could change things. The question is, once Israel has taken out these two major threats, will the country's security situation improve or worsen? If you believe that removing these dangers will lead to a safer future for Israel, then buying these bonds now could be a great opportunity. On the other hand, if you think that Israel's actions might provoke retaliation and destabilize the region further, then investing in Israeli bonds could be a risky move. Personally, after researching Israel's security situation over the past few weeks, I'm leaning toward the belief that its security environment will improve. The threats from Hezbollah and Hamas are no longer as immediate, and this could lead to a more stable future for the country. This investment dilemma ties back to the Bloomberg report I just shared. In both cases, we're looking at how political dynamics, whether in the US or the Middle East, can directly affect economic decisions and investment strategies. Economic decisions don't happen in a vacuum. Politics plays a major role in shaping economic outcomes, whether it's the Fed adjusting to Trump's policies or investing in Israeli bonds based on geopolitical changes. In short, as we look at these key economic issues, we can't ignore the political forces at play. The intersection of politics and economics is something investors must always consider when making decisions. Next, let's focus on latest updates on the Ukraine conflict. 1. Ukraine strikes Russia using US Army missiles. A significant development reported by Reuters: on the 1000th day of the Ukraine war, Ukraine launched US-made Army tactical missile systems, ATACMS, to strike a target inside Russia. This comes just after the Biden administration lifted restrictions on the use of American missiles for strikes within Russian territory. Ukraine targeted an ammunition depot in Bryansk, Russia, firing 6 missiles. Russian officials reported that they intercepted 5 of the missiles, with the 6th exploding in the air, causing a ground fire. Ukrainian sources, however, claimed the strike hit a military warehouse located 110 kilometers inside Russia, triggering secondary explosions. This marks a major shift in the conflict. For Ukraine, using the US missiles is not only strategically important but also time-sensitive, as they need to act before the US administration changes. This will help bolster Ukraine's position as they continue to coordinate with NATO allies like France and the UK. 2. Russia responds by lowering threshold for nuclear weapon use. In response to the US allowing Ukraine to strike inside Russia, Vladimir Putin has lowered the threshold for the use of nuclear weapons. In 2020, Russia passed a law outlining that nuclear weapons could only be used under 2 conditions: if Russia is attacked with nuclear weapons or if conventional weapons threaten the survival of the state. However, following the US missile policy change, Putin amended this law, now allowing nuclear weapons to be used in response to large-scale conventional missile strikes. This escalation is viewed by many as a direct counter to the US lifting missile restrictions. While the Kremlin has attempted to downplay the possibility of nuclear conflict, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov reassured the public today that Russia does not intend to initiate nuclear war. Nonetheless, this marks a troubling shift in global security. 3. US response and Biden administration's rationale. In the wake of Russia's policy change, the Biden administration has announced it will not lower the threshold for nuclear weapons use in response. This stance was confirmed today by US officials, who stated that America and NATO allies will not mirror Russia's actions. In addition, Biden's decision to lift the missile restrictions for Ukraine is being defended with the argument that it is a response to Russia's increasing missile and drone attacks on Ukrainian cities, as well as Russia's partnership with North Korea, which has provided arms support. While this is the official US reasoning, many experts believe the situation is more complex. A key point to consider is the reaction from Trump's camp regarding Biden's decision. Trump's proposed national security advisor, Mike Waltz, remarked that Biden's move represents an escalation and no one knows where it will lead. He stressed that Trump's administration would focus on negotiating an end to the conflict. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., expressed more direct concern, tweeting that Biden's decision increases the risk of World War III, signaling strong opposition to the policy. Analyzing US foreign policy shifts a broader perspective. When observing US policy on foreign affairs, especially in terms of military and diplomatic responses, it's important not to exaggerate the differences between political parties. While there are certainly varying perspectives, both parties tend to align on major international issues, especially when it comes to confronting adversaries like Russia. Take, for example, Trump's first term. Although he was seen as attempting to foster better relations with Russia, his administration continued to impose sanctions, keeping Russia on edge. Similarly, while Biden's policy may appear more aggressive, the overall strategy remained somewhat consistent with past approaches. This continuity, despite partisan rhetoric, suggests that Russia's challenges are not just a matter of dealing with different US administrations, but with a broader, more consistent US stance toward Russian aggression. The next key update: Trump's team supports Kevin Warsh for Treasury Secretary. According to Bloomberg, the debate over President Trump's Treasury Secretary nominee continues, with the latest reports indicating strong backing for Kevin Warsh, the former Federal Reserve Governor. Trump's advisors have expressed support for Warsh as the final piece of Trump's economic team. Bloomberg reports that some of Trump's key advisors have indicated they are willing to accept Warsh for the role, despite ongoing competition from other potential candidates, including hedge fund manager Scott Bessent and Wall Street executive Lew Rudnick. Sources close to Trump say that while Bessent retains support among some advisors, Warsh is increasingly seen as the leading contender for the job. Trump himself, however, has yet to make a final decision and has reportedly been frustrated by the infighting surrounding this key appointment. Since election day, Warsh has been working closely with Trump's transition team, advising on economic policy and personnel decisions. Warsh is expected to visit Mar-a-Lago later this week, a possible indication that his nomination is moving forward. The backstory: the Bessent controversy. This decision has been more complicated than it might first appear. Before Election Day, it was widely speculated that Scott Bessent, a former executive at Warsh Fund Management, would be Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary. However, the narrative shifted after Elon Musk weighed in, publicly criticizing Bessent for his past ties to billionaire financier George Soros, a prominent Democratic donor. Musk argued that Bessent's connections to Soros were a major liability, even though Bessent had long since moved on to build his own independent business on Wall Street. While Bessent continued to enjoy support from some of Trump's team, the Musk controversy led to a shift in momentum. At the same time, Lew Rudnick, a prominent Wall Street figure and one of Trump's major donors and campaign managers, expressed interest in the role, pushing for a competitive nomination process. This led to an internal struggle that Trump found frustrating. In an effort to quell the competition, Trump's team has now indicated that Rudnick will be nominated for Secretary of Commerce, a strategic move to calm tensions within the team. This effectively leaves Bessent and Warsh as the final two contenders for Treasury Secretary. Why Kevin Warsh is a strong contender. Kevin Warsh, a former Federal Reserve governor, has long been a key figure in Trump's financial circle. During Trump's first term, Warsh was even considered for the role of Federal Reserve Chair, a position ultimately given to Jerome Powell. Although Warsh did not get the nod in 2017, his credentials and experience have made him a favored candidate for a prominent role in Trump's second-term administration. Warsh's background is also noteworthy. While he comes from a relatively modest upbringing, he is married to the daughter of Leonard Lauder, the prominent business leader behind the Estee Lauder empire. This connection to one of the world's most influential family-owned corporations adds an interesting dimension to Warsh's profile. Given these factors, it appears that Warsh is now the frontrunner for Treasury Secretary. Bloomberg's reporting suggests that his nomination is gaining significant traction within Trump's inner circle, with Warsh poised to be the final piece in Trump's economic team puzzle. Trump's next personnel appointment is, he nominates Brendan Carr as FCC chairman. Donald Trump has officially nominated Brendan Carr as the next chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, FCC. While appointments to roles like Defense Secretary or Treasury Secretary might not feel immediately relevant to the average person, Carr's nomination could have a direct impact on millions of internet users and media consumers. Here's why this appointment is particularly noteworthy, as highlighted by the Wall Street Journal. 1. Ties to the 2025 project. Brendan Carr was one of the key contributors to the 2025 project, a policy blueprint developed by conservative think tanks to shape the direction of a potential second Trump administration. This document outlines a range of ambitious right-wing policy goals, including reducing federal oversight and reorganizing major institutions. Although Trump publicly distanced himself from the 2025 project during the election, likely to avoid political backlash, this nomination signals continued alignment with its vision. Carr's involvement in crafting these plans provides a glimpse into the administration's broader policy priorities, especially in the media and telecommunications sectors. 2. Advocate for looser regulation on social media. Carr is a vocal proponent of less restrictive content moderation policies for social media platforms. His appointment could lead to significant changes in how platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and others operate. Currently, platforms enforce varying levels of content moderation, with stricter policies often drawing criticism from conservatives. Carr's leadership would likely push for more relaxed rules, emphasizing free speech over content regulation. For users, this could mean fewer bans and restrictions, but also more exposure to controversial or polarizing content. 3. A shift away from protecting traditional media. As a current FCC commissioner, Carr has made it clear that he opposes excessive protections for legacy media like newspapers and traditional TV networks. Under current policies, these outlets are shielded by strict regulations limiting mergers and acquisitions to maintain a competitive media landscape. Carr's approach, however, favors deregulation. If he takes charge, the FCC could ease restrictions, potentially triggering large-scale media mergers and creating opportunities for tech companies to integrate further with news platforms. For example, deals similar to Elon Musk's acquisition of X, formerly Twitter, might become more common, potentially transforming the media ecosystem. What's at stake? Carr's appointment as FCC chairman could bring sweeping changes to the American media landscape, impacting everything from social media policies to how traditional media outlets compete and evolve. While some view these changes as a necessary step toward greater innovation and free speech, others worry about the risks of unregulated media consolidation and the spread of harmful content. One thing is clear: Carr's tenure will likely mark a turning point in how media and communication platforms operate in the United States. Traditional broadcasters, in particular, are bracing for what could be a challenging new era. Finally, Matt Gaetz' nomination as Attorney General sparks intense debate. Matt Gaetz, former congressman and Donald Trump's nominee for Attorney General, remains at the center of a heated national controversy. Two recent developments are particularly noteworthy, highlighting both serious allegations against Gaetz and the political maneuvers surrounding his nomination. 1. Allegations of misconduct surface again. The Wall Street Journal reports that a witness has testified before the House Ethics Committee, claiming to have seen Gaetz engage in a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old girl during a 2017 party. At the time, Gaetz was serving in Congress. The lawyer representing the young woman and another witness provided evidence suggesting Gaetz made payments to the women via digital payment platforms. These allegations have been under investigation by the House Ethics Committee, which has interviewed dozens of witnesses, issued 25 subpoenas, and reviewed thousands of documents since June. While the committee originally planned to release its findings last week, Gaetz' resignation from Congress led Speaker Mike Johnson to delay the report's release. However, internal debate continues, and the committee is scheduled to vote tomorrow on whether to disclose the investigation's findings. The decision could further complicate Gaetz' confirmation process. 2. Musk defends Gaetz amid mounting pressure. Meanwhile, Forbes highlights Elon Musk's vocal defense of Gaetz as the ideal candidate for Attorney General. Musk praised Gaetz for his intelligence, resilience, and ability to disrupt entrenched systems. He likened Gaetz to a Judge Dredd figure, claiming he would clean up corruption and hold powerful wrongdoers accountable. Musk dismissed the allegations against Gaetz as baseless, asserting that no charges have been filed by current Attorney General Merrick Garland. Musk's comments reflect growing Republican support for Gaetz, despite the controversy, and underline the polarized response to his nomination. Trump's ultimatum to the Senate. Adding to the tension, Trump has reportedly pressured Senate Republicans to confirm Gaetz. Trump warned the new Senate GOP leader that he would bypass opposition by using his recess appointment powers to temporarily install Gaetz as Attorney General. Under U.S. law, a recess appointment would allow Gaetz to serve for 210 days, with a possible extension for another 210 days if necessary, effectively enabling Gaetz to hold the position for over a year without Senate approval. What's next? As the House Ethics Committee prepares to vote on the release of its investigation and Trump pushes for Gaetz' appointment, the controversy shows no signs of abating. The outcome of these events will not only determine Gaetz' political future but also influence the broader debate over Trump's approach to reshaping the federal government. For now, Gaetz' nomination as Attorney General remains one of the most contentious issues in American politics, with repercussions likely to extend well beyond the immediate confirmation battle. That's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more updates. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.